participants may toll-free number 1-253-215-8782 and prompted when entering ID 846-1634-3964. This meeting is also being broadcast on television and will be airing this meeting on Channel 9 as well as streaming on PBD Access TV. First order of business in the opening of the meeting is the approval of the minutes of the meeting on September 3rd of 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes of the September 3rd meeting.
You have a second? Attorney Abernathy, second. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
For the record, everybody has raised their hand.
Okay, A&R and Land Court, Andover Street, map 39, lot 25.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, I just unmuted Attorney Von Zalides' mic. Can you hear us, Ethan?
I can hear you guys. I don't seem to have visual. I can see you guys, but can you guys see me?
We cannot see you, but we can hear you. That's just how Zoom works.
That's how this one's working?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that means I can drink my wine and you can't see me.
There you go.
You know, I like that.
Ethan, would you like me to share the plan on the screen so you can kind of present it?
I don't have that capability.
I can do it. No, that's fine.
You realize I'm an old man and I'm not techie.
Ethan, you are being broadcast live on PBD Access TV.
All right, I'll behave. Is that what you're telling me?
If you want, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm at that age, Peter, where I just don't care anymore.
Hey, Drew, can you shrink that just a little so everybody can see the whole picture? Oh, no, just a little. Perfect.
Perfect. All right, for the record, I'm Nathan Von Zalides. I'm an attorney practicing law at 246 Andover Street in Peabody. Back in 2017, I obtained a special permit for the property owner, being Group 1 Automotive, to utilize this back parcel of land that contains a little over 8 acres for the outdoor storage of automobiles in connection with their car dealership. During that process, we worked very closely with all of our residential abutters. And as you can see on our plan, a portion of our property had frontage on Richardson Road. And what the neighbors were concerned about was in the future, because the DeCoulis family at one time had proposed development on that parcel, so that in the future, no one could ever access this land from Richardson Road. We agreed that if granted the special permit, we would take a condition that would create a small parcel of land that contained all of the frontage that was on Richardson Road. Would convey it to the city of Peabody, and it was the city's intent to create a little memorial park for a young man that had died in an accident. The city has already created that memorial park, and we're just cleaning this up by getting the A&R plan approved, which will allow me to then prepare a deed and convey that land to our city. And that's it in a nutshell, and if anybody has any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I have no questions.
Nothing at this
Nothing
time.
from me.
This time I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of an A&R plan of land in Peabody, Mass, prepared by Roadway Survey, 1072A, Massachusetts Ave, Arlington, Mass. The date on the plan is May 26th, 2020. The divisions shall go as follows. Lot A, 357,167 square feet. And parcel B, which is to be conveyed to the city of Peabody, 2,878 plus or minus square feet. And that's that.
I'll second.
second by Attorney Peter Abernathy's. Do we have a roll call on this? Andrew?
Yep. Dr. Otto,
Yes.
Mr. Feld,
Yes.
Attorney Arvanites,
Yes.
Mr. Gagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Samos,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Bencourt,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
unanimous.
Thank you, but who will have the original executed linen?
So I have it. I have the Mylar in my office. I gotta come by your office or your house, Tom, and get them signed. But I will get it signed, Ethan, and then I can drop it off at your office or have it at City Hall for you to pick up.
Well, you might, if you want, you could probably keep it at City Hall because what I already have the executed deed from my client. But it's my understanding from talking to our community development director that I should write a letter to the city council stating here's the deed, here's the linen, and I believe they have to take a vote to accept the conveyance. So I'd only be bringing it back to you, Drew.
All right, I'll keep it and just let me know when you need it.
You've got it. Well, thank you very much, guys. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Section C, site building permits, plan reviews, none.
Nope.
Section D, appointments, proposed Stonegate subdivision, Attorney John Kelty.
I don't believe Attorney Kelty's here, but Paul, is that you?
Yes,
Okay. Yep.
I'm at Paul's with Paul and Chris Mello.
Look at that. All three right there. So you have Chris Mello and Paul DiBiase here as well?
Yes.
Perfect. I guess just a little background before you begin, Jack. I mean, as most of you know, board members, at the last meeting, I had asked that Attorney Kelty and the proponents for Stonegate come before the board and provide an update as we haven't heard really a full update in quite a bit of time, especially since we just received back the third-party review from Meridian. And I know that at the last meeting, Attorney Kelty had mentioned that the Apis clients were working on a response to that. So I'd asked Attorney Kelty and Mr. DiBiase and Mr. Mello to attend tonight to provide the board with an update and where they stand, as well as to respond if they would like to what Meridian has provided in their third-party review.
So do I have the floor?
Yes, you do.
John, for the record, my name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I'm appearing on behalf of Paul DiBiase and Peabody Residence LLC, who are the applicants for approval of a definitive subdivision plan. This plan has been before the board for some considerable length of time. The Department of Public Services engaged the services of Meridian Engineering to conduct third-party reviews. We are now in our third review by Meridian Engineering. The most recent review was completed on or about August 4th, 5th, but was given to us somewhere near to August 31st, which I explained to the board last meeting. We've had several meetings with Chris Mello at Eastern Land Survey and Paul DiBiase, and we have prepared a response to our last review, and we have revised our plans. Those will be distributed. Both the individual response and the set of revised plans will be distributed on no later than next Tuesday, perhaps even Monday. But our responses are to each item that was on the original review given to us by Meridian Engineering. We've gone through all 82 items. There was no item in the package which could not be addressed. We were able to do everything that Meridian had asked for. There are several issues that are being left to the planning board to make a judgment call or decision with respect to the direction that the board may go. Not in any particular order. Those are inclusive of whether or not there will be a gate. We have to prevent traffic from entering and exiting through Juniper. We have added a gate to our plans, which were most recently reviewed by Meridian, and they left the decision as to where the gate should be and how it should be managed. They left that decision to the board. That was also a question raised by Councilor at Large, John Turco. He had a question which was, why did we choose to come through Pearl and Ralph Road at all? The easy answer to that is that subdivision rules and regulations dictate that there be that the number of dead ends should be extremely limited, that by connecting Pearl Street, Ralph Road, and Juniper with our proposed Innis Road, by extending Innis Road through Juniper, we meet the regulation requirements of the planning board. If, however, the planning board is suggestive that there ought to be a gate, then we would install that gate. We have installed the gate at the Juniper end. The reasoning behind that was another question that was raised by Councilor Turco, and I thought I would use this opportunity to address it. We had discussions with departments. We were aware that there was a traffic concern at the intersection of Bartholomew with Bartholomew Street with Linfield Street. And it was our intention to allow our traffic to access and egress our homes in this subdivision from a point off of Linfield Street, rather than causing the only access and egress to be through Innis Road and Juniper. We would then be worsening, if you will, the queue that already assembles at Bartholomew Street and Linfield Street. So our goal was initially to connect both sides and reduce the amount of traffic to either directly to Linfield Street or directly or sort of circuitously to Bartholomew Street. Then the discussion was had about a gate. It seemed to us that the planning board would be receptive to the notion of a gate. So we placed that gate up at the Juniper end of the subdivision, limiting traffic there so as to pour our traffic directly onto Linfield Street rather than down at the Bartholomew Street and put our traffic into the queue. Another question, the location of the gate, why not access? The street name is an issue that has been brought up. We had named it Innis Road because it was extending from Innis Road into our subdivision over to Ralph and Pearl. There has been a request that the name Paul Campbell be considered a decorated veteran the war in Afghanistan, I believe, and we are more than willing to accommodate that. Our choice of Innes Road was based on two things. One is the stub that comes up from Sarah's Way is already named Innes Road, so we would continue that right through to Ralph. The only comment we have no objection to whatever the planning board would like to decide. I believe that certainly Paul Jr. Deserves to be recognized. I do think that some of the suggestions, when they include all of the rank held by Mr. Campbell, that they become a little unwieldy. We have no objection, but I do think that there may be concern on the part of the police and fire with respect to 911 response. It may be easier without initials. So perhaps as kind of a compromise, and my client, Mr. DiBiase, had said he'd be happy to pay for the sign if we had Campbell Way, Campbell Road, whatever it may be, but then with the notation at the bottom portion of the sign of name and rank and anything else that anybody would like to add to that sign, we'd be happy to accommodate that. I know that there was some recent material sent to the board, which is I believe, a discussion of the stub, which is Ralph Road, that extends between two lots that are already purchased and occupied. We are not of a mind to put the pump station there. I think this is all directed to who owns that parcel of land, with the hope that our pump station would not be located there. We are still of a mind to locate it as close to Bartholomew Street and access from Bartholomew Street as possible. I mentioned at the last meeting that we have been informed by William Politz of the Public Services Department that the city is contemplating a realignment of Bartholomew Street, which seems very surprising because there was a realignment done in 1986. And we now have an intersection from Bartholomew Street to Linfield Street, which meets that intersection. Bartholomew meets at a 90-degree angle, which is about as close to ideal as possible. However, it's certainly within the city's purview to realign that roadway if they so choose. I've been unable to see any kind of a plan that showed the potential realignment, where it is our intention to still pursue that in as much as we would still like to utilize, if any portion of city land was available, since this pump station is going to end up owned by the city and maintained by the city, and will be part of their water supply. We would certainly provide any easement required over our property to locate the pump station. But for reasons that are borne out by our engineers, the location of the pump station at the lower levels is more ideal than putting the pump station at a up gradient or higher elevation. And I think that Roy had mentioned that the three-phase power lines that we need to hook up to and carry through the subdivision are actually located down on Linfield Street, so that access to those would be considerably easier and less costly. And for all those reasons, we are going to continue to pursue the ability to put this pump station at either entirely on our own property at the lower elevation, or in some capacity where it straddles perhaps some remaining city land and our own land. Another question that was asked by Councilor at Large Turco was as to one of the abutters, I think her name is Kathy Labeo. She lives on the easterly side of Bartholomew Street, and she was concerned about what is my view going to be once construction begins. We have two areas where there will be easements provided to tie our utilities into Bartholomew Street, connecting our utilities with Bartholomew. There will be that, if we were to regard it as an imposition, there will be that digging and that access. There is no plan for an access or staging area on Bartholomew Street. Once we get our utilities into the rear of Bartholomew Street, we will be staging and working up off of considerably off of Bartholomew Street and onto our own land. Directly across from Mrs. Labeo's house is our houses that are already developed and will remain at some reasonably, based on our approval, at some reasonably not so distant date, we will be tearing down the can't even think, the Polino structure, and replacing it with a new house. So, but that construction is actually considerably west or sort of north of the existing houses. So I don't think that the view will be terribly impacting or impactful on Mrs. Labeo, and I think I've covered the issues that were brought up by Councilor Turco. We are going to respond to our Meridian review on Monday or Tuesday. We believe that we will have addressed with great accuracy everything that they brought up. In the initial review had 1 through 46 items, which were all addressed, generally speaking, were all addressed to the satisfaction of Meridian. And so we continued that kind of an approach and that kind of response with respect to the numbers 47 through 82. We're happy to, I think there was a discussion with Andrew Levin about perhaps meeting next week to kind of reassess what we're discussing right now. That meeting would be with Andrew and perhaps Kurt Bellavance. We're going to have that meeting. We hope that'll be late next week. If an extension is necessary to be delivered to you this evening, I would be happy to do that. My last extension, I think, is till, is it into October, Andrew?
Yep, it's past the next meeting.
Oh, it is, okay, so I don't need to.
It's past it by a couple of days, so the board has till next meeting to take action.
Okay, and the next meeting will be October 1.
Yeah.
Correct, and so we are hopeful that we would be, have our 4th review completed, forwarded to the board for the October 1 meeting, and we would be hopeful that the board would be in a position to perhaps act on October 1. Are there any issues that jump out to anyone that I have not addressed?
Any questions? Board.
Mr. Chair, can I just like to make it known that Councilor Welton, the ward councilor in this area, and then Councilor Turco, councilor at large and also former councilor for the ward, are also in attendance for this meeting. That if you'd like to hear from them, I could unmute them.
Yes, Roy.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a couple of comments and a question, I guess. So, Jack, I thought a number of months ago, I saw a plan that I don't think we ever got the copy, but I think Drew had it. And when you got to as close as possible to the Redberry, the condos, instead of being straight through, what I thought I saw was more or less a cul-de-sac kind of a thing and a left turn that takes you down a dead-end street. But now I hear you talking about a gate. So I think I'm the only person on this board, and I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, that was in favor of the gate. I don't think anybody else on this board is in favor of the gate. I am, but I'm not going to hold up a vote of the subdivision because of that. But can you explain that? So it almost seems like now you're back to straight through.
No, did we propose gate? Yes. Yes. Yeah. So
What page is it? I need access.
we're gonna try to put it.
Can I have access to share my screen?
Yes. Hold on.
Who's
I
this?
don't want the one being-
Maybe I can just do it.
There's 5 of us in this office, so that's who's asking about share screen.
So you guys will be visible now. And you should be able to now.
And we're all gonna need plans that show that all of these things that are on this Meridian review, so we can all look at.
Your plan is being shared.
Yep, everybody should see it now.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
Roy is quite right. We had discussion about a gate one evening, and the majority of the board was against the gate. And I thought Attorney Kelty was there at that time. But the majority of the board was against it.
If I can get on.
You're unmuted, you're good.
Hi there, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
This is Chris Mello from Easton Land Survey, and we put up a plan, which is sheet 10 of the definitive subdivision as revised. And as you can see, Innes Road is in the middle of the sheet. And Innes Road, from a 50-foot wide layout, connects from Pearl Street to Innes Road at Juniper Village. The construction of Innes Road is going to come in from Pearl Street until it hits Alvin Way, and it's going to take a left and go right down Alvin Way. And it will not be a 50-foot constructed roadway through to Juniper Village. So there will be an emergency roadway through there of about 12 feet wide that anybody could get through, an emergency vehicle, fire, ambulance, or anything. And the gate we're talking about, if it is ever in place, we would expect to be at the curved point on Innes to Alvin that would block general traffic for going to Juniper Village. So that's what Attorney Kelty has asked you to consider. If there is going to be a gate anywhere, that the gate would be there. This roadway construction limitation was brought about after meetings with community development as to an alternative as to the 32-foot wide roadway, Innes Road, connecting through to Innes Road in Juniper Village. And that is not changed in our revised plans that we've just completed that are taking care of our review from Meridian. That stays the same. There's nothing, the only comment from Meridian on that was they had no comment on where or if a gate should be put in, and they left that to the purview of the board, as we are now. And we're not looking for any decision on that right now or anything. I'm just trying to inform the board as to what our plans are. I'm good.
Mr. Chairman,
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I think I maybe wasn't at a meeting maybe a year or more ago when some of this stuff was discussed, but I would favor some kind of connection rather than a new cul-de-sac at the top of Innis Road there. So I guess I'm a little not quite clear on whether we're discussing three options: a turnaround, a gate, or a throughway, or whether this board, following up on Roy's comment, is merely considering a full roadway construction through or a narrower roadway with a gate.
I misspoke and called it a cul-de-sac, but this is what I'm talking about.
Okay. So the
Yeah,
option is, can everybody drive through there, or can only emergency vehicles drive through there?
Evidently.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The last plan that we were sent, which I think is this one, showed the gate on the plan.
Again, we discussed the gate, and my memory is not that bad. I do remember the majority of the board being not in favor of a gate. And if this is the last plan, I have only seen in my hand one plan, the original plan. So if there's other plans along the way, they should be shared with us.
Right, I only have the same, I'm looking at them right now. The set of plans dated March 1, get this, 2018.
Mhm.
And I know we've allowed you changes on roadways, angles, intersections, stuff like that. In my mind, the gate was to be a regular roadway, unblocked, just a straight roadway. Maybe with some signage, one way from this hour to that hour, something like that.
Am I on? Can I?
Yeah, you can talk.
Yeah, so I am unmuted. This is Chris Mello.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. On or about April and July, we resubmitted plans after our community development meeting, basically with Kurt. And this was the resultant, not moving the layout, the 50-foot roads, but changing the construction so that regular vehicles would not be able to pass from Innis Road, Stonegate subdivision to Innis Road in Juniper Village. I think I speak for the team, and anybody can yell at me, that we are somewhat ambivalent with this. We are trying to get our subdivision approved and to make the board happy with its wishes. We have not eliminated the ability to do this physically and or grade wise. We can still connect this. And when and if the board votes to approve this subdivision, which we hope they will, if they put a condition that the roadway shall be connected with any signage, gates, or possible impediment, we're okay with that. We want to build a subdivision, build houses. We're trying not to get in the middle of various neighborhoods that all have competing interests. So that's where we are. And this is the plan that went to Meridian for review, which is why their statement comes back that they leave it to you. This is the same plan with modifications that is going to go to them Monday. As Jack said, and I'm just going to throw that in because I'm up, of the first 47 items they had, we altered everything they wanted. They threw back another 40 or so that we have acquiesced to everything. There's no argument with them. There's no give me this or I'll give you that. We've just said, yeah, we did it. So I expect this to come back clean. I've been there before and been been unhappy with it, but I expect that we will be here 2 weeks from now with that. I hope that answers your question with the access, and I will leave you with, we can do whatever you want. I'm done.
Yes, Roy.
So, so it sounds like to me that community development has determined and maybe suggested to us and to the developer that this roadway should not be continuous into all the way to Sarah's, is what it seems like. And I think we as a board have some discussion. If this road is not made continuous, then I think this piece of Innis has to have a different name. And naming it, but if it is continuous, then I don't think that this can be the road that gets the special name, because now that you got homes that are on Innis Road on the piece that's already built, that you're going to be changing the names of this street. So you definitely don't want two pieces of Innis and have a 911 call and the ambulance going to the wrong side. So that's a nightmare. And that's all I have.
This is Jack Kelty. Could I just address that for one moment?
Go ahead.
I don't think it's fair to say that community development directed us to do anything. We had a discussion as to possible means to disconnect, and this seemed like a very viable one. And there was a discussion that if there were to be a gate, if you people were to approve that gate, then this would be the preferable location for a gate or for a disconnect. So we're happy to go back to the original plan, as Chris said, and connect Innis right over to Pearl Street. That is not a problem at all. We'd be happy to do that. And when we had the discussion approximately a year ago, I was not of a mind that the board had somewhat formally given us a direction that that the board did not want to see a gate. If that was what was intended on that evening approximately a year ago, then I missed it, because I continued to pursue what I thought was going to be an eventual location of a gate or discontinuance of the roadway. So we're happy if the board would even give us a direction tonight, then we'll revise the plans accordingly.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think, I just wanted to kind of make a couple comments. I think to Roy's, I think partial point, if a gate is incorporated, which I think I would be in support of, as long as public safety is in support of it. I think to Roy's point, I think having that gate there is a nice natural break to name, the remainder of Innis Road after the decorated veteran. So I think that's a nice, it makes a clean break, for lack of a better term. And I like the fact that, that won't confuse 911 calls or public safety. I did want to just ask what the plan would be if public safety is happy that the narrow road, the 12-foot road would be maintained in snowstorms. If the gate is in the way, how sort of that will be maneuvered and keep the access for emergency vehicles. So I'd like to hear a plan for those type of measures, but otherwise I like the idea of the gate. I like the idea of the naming rights at that clean break between the two portions of Innis. That's all.
Hearing any other questions? Yes, Roy.
Thank you, Tom. Through the just a commentary to the remaining board members. I myself think that not making the road continuous is good for the existing people on Ralph and Pearl. Because I really do believe that a lot of those condominium owners would try to use this as a shortcut to get to Goodwin Circle, to get north or south onto a major highway. And I think this is the best that can happen for the people on Ralph, people on Pearl, and ultimately the 23 new taxpayers that are going to be moving into this subdivision.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments from the board? If not, I'd like to extend a courtesy. Excuse me?
John had his hand up.
Well,
I can't
I
see.
was just gonna say, I would definitely support a street being named after Lance Corporal Campbell. I think that's the way to go. And the name shouldn't include Lance Corporal Campbell Way, perhaps. Should denote his service. And that's my opinion on that matter. That's all
Okay,
for now.
is it possible we can remove the shared screen here?
Yeah.
Attendees, we have John Turco and Steve Walton. I would like to extend, with the permission of the board, a courtesy that either one of them would like to make a brief statement.
I just unmuted both their microphones. Can you hear us, counselors?
Council Turco, I can hear you all. Thank you very much.
Yes, this is Councilor Welton. I can hear you as well. Thank you.
First of all, let me say thank you to Mr. Betancourt. This was unexpected. I know you guys closed the public portion of the hearing long ago, so I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. As far as the access gate, I know there was some discussion, and like you guys said, this was 2 years ago. So my recollection was that through community development, that in meetings with Mayor Betancourt and Kurt Bellavance, that we were going to try to do this for the benefit of a long existing area of Peabody, Ralph, and Pearl, where many of those residents have been there for well over 40 or 50 years on what is essentially a cul-de-sac itself, and to try to prevent traffic from the condominiums, Juniper Ridge, from cutting through down Ralph onto Linfield Street. And, I know that there seems to be some question about it, but I would respectfully ask that you please consider these people that have been here for so long. It's not the location that they preferred the gate to be, but to me, it's a happy medium, and I would gladly accept it. And also it gives the benefit of Paul Campbell's son, PJ Campbell, having the street named in his honor. And just a brief story of Paul Campbell.
No, we've read your report, on that, John.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that he lives on Bartholomew Street, abutting next to the Paulino house. That was the only point I wanted to make to you. So he's in the neighborhood. But thank you all very much for the work you put into this.
Thank you, John. Mr. Welton, do you have any comment?
Thank you. Again, as Councilor Turco had mentioned, thank you for the opportunity to speak. And thank you for including us this evening. I'd just like to echo his sentiments in terms of placement of a gate. That would be something that I would be in favor of as well. And in speaking with some of the citizens in that area, I know that there has been concern for that area to become a cut through, and they would favor a gate there as well. So again, thank you very much for your consideration and for allowing us to speak on this evening.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your efforts in the city. I know it's difficult to be a representative. Okay, we get back to the meeting. Correspondence, any? Andrew?
There's a couple, Mr. Chair, there's a couple items. I don't know if the board wants to, they were kind of mentioned tonight. They weren't like fully discussed, but there were some items that I placed into the planning board's packets this week that would be considered late ad. So I don't know if the board wants to vote to accept. They would be the Bayside engineering report regarding traffic from the applicants for Stonegate, the documents provided by Councilor Turco, including the deeds that date back to the 60s, as well as the memo from Brian Barrett. And then there would also be the letter in regards to PJ Campbell in the road naming. So I don't know if the board wants to vote to accept those items tonight or wait to the next meeting.
We have a recommendation from the board. Yes, John.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to receive these late communications so we can discuss things a little further.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Let the record show that everybody's raised their hand unanimously. Jack, Chris, and Paul, I will be in touch in regards to a meeting to discuss further.
Thank you.
So as John Ford rightfully stated, we don't have these plans. So whether we get them in sheets of paper or we get them electronically, we need these plans.
They're gonna come out, I'm sorry, they're gonna come out electronically immediately to the reviewing agent and to you, and I can provide hard copies at any size you want, if you want them. Or if the CAD plan, the PDFs are enough, so be it. Just, you can let Andrew know what you want, and he can let Jack know, and we'll provide whatever you need.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if the board wants to email me their preference for hard copy or electric, I will then let Mr. Mello know. And when I receive the digital copy, I will immediately forward it to everyone.
So do we want to have the discussion at a later date with regard to the naming? Because I think what we did when we did this up at Boulderwood is so most of the streets in Boulderwood got killed in action veterans' names. And it was a sort of a catch-up feature because I guess there was some streets, some subdivisions in the past that didn't get the naming rights. In other words, I think the ruling or the unwritten rule was the developer picks a name, and then the next street that gets a veteran's name, and then a developer name, and then a veteran's name, so on and so forth. So Boulderwood was a catch-up, and there was Gedney is not, but all the others were. Leno Marshall, that we've just seen up off of Winona Street, that project up there, Leno Marshall Drive, which became Race Drive. Marshall Circle, that's Leno Marshall on Boulderwood. Then there's Cincinos and all these other names, and they're just the last name. And I totally respect this veteran, what he did, what he lost, defending this country. But I still think his name can go on the street, but I think it should be the last name only, just like all the other streets we did. You need to think about into perpetuity all the people that are going to be living on these streets and how in the world they're going to get mail, and how does someone address and abbreviate or didn't abbreviate. So that's my spiel. I am totally don't want to be perceived as being offensive in any way, shape, or form in saying that.
I think a plaque under the street name with those considerations could be arranged.
Absolutely.
So you could have Campbell Way or Campbell Street or whatever.
Whatever they want. Way, drive.
And then underneath
road,
rank, serial number, history.
Can be on the plaque underneath, but the legal address, I really do think needs to be simplified.
Campbell Way.
Whatever works.
I would go with Way.
Sorry.
I think that it shows no disrespect to simply name the way, as Roy suggests, and some others would agree, Campbell Way, with an appropriate memorial just below that, referencing the young man's rank as Lance Corporal.
Exactly,
I
exactly
think
right.
That says everything that needs to be said and gives all the due recognition that needs to be given.
Mhm.
And
Sorry, Mr. Ford,
it's Roy has voiced.
Peter had his up first.
That's right. No, I was gonna go with way because in the Army, Rangers lead the way, but the Marines clear the way. So that's why I would go with way. So it's kind of a double thing. And
Beautiful.
so
Anything else from the board?
I'm 1,000% in naming a street after this young fella.
I think that would
Can
be.
could I speak to that issue? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're happy to provide the memorial, whether it be a plaque or just the sort of second tier to the sign. We will lose also the street name Alvin Way, because if that becomes Campbell Way, it'll flow into what is now L, and that'll continue to be more of Campbell Way.
Yes, Roy.
Sorry. just, doesn't that create an issue with the length of the street, or is that something you're gonna then put on a waiver?
We're going to ask for a waiver.
Okay, beautiful. I was thinking the same thing. I was afraid to say it.
Yep.
That it? Any other comments from the board?
Do we want to discuss the gate or the width of the road or any of that?
I'd like to see the plans first before I do that.
So I just went back through, and back in May of this year, and I just re-emailed it to everybody. I did send out these plans to everybody in May. Everybody received a digital copy of them in their meeting packets for the May 21st meeting. I just re-emailed that same set of plans to everybody. So, I mean, you all have, I mean, Chris, the plan that you were showing, or anybody over there from that side, was the April 15th, 2020 plan.
Looking at it, that is correct.
Yeah, so everybody was sent that in your May 21st meeting packet when I received this.
The trouble though, Drew, is now that we're organizing these things electronically, it's a lot of extra work for board members to try to figure out in which packet folder these items appear. And I hate to sound like I'm 150 years old, although I feel that way sometimes. At home in my office, I have a giant stack of stuff relating to Stonewood. At any moment, I can get my Stonegate stuff immediately because there it is in that stack. And when pieces of a project are scattered through multiple packets, it's much harder to keep track of them.
I'd rather have paper myself.
Yeah, this was right at the beginning of the pandemic, so we were kind of shutting down in-person meeting people and grabbing stuff, as well as sending out the hard copies. So that's why I had it digitally. But like Mr. Mello said, I believe he's going to be able to get everybody hard copies that wants a hard copy now.
I'm fine with electronic copies. I just don't want to have to comb through
Search.
multiple files to find them.
I agree with Judy 1,000%.
I have a question for the board. We have them full size. They're cumbersome. The 11 by 18s are quite legible. Is that sufficient for everybody? It fits right in front of you on the desk, and you don't have to go crazy with them.
Myself, Chris, I would like a full plan.
Full plan you got.
Thank you.
I would also like a full plan.
That's 2 out of 9. You win.
I would like a full plan.
We're getting them all full. Thank you. Not a problem.
I don't want a full plan. Sorry. Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question? Slightly humbly, I don't know, slightly embarrassed to admit that there's a piece of correspondence in the Stonegate folder, an email from Brian Barrett to Councilor Turco, dated 9/14. I'm afraid that without seeing what Councilor Turco wrote, I can't figure out the context of this email. Could anybody explain to me what this was in response to and really what it means? It's a lot of stuff I don't know. I don't have the legalese expertise to figure out what it says.
I believe. Can you hear us, Councilor Turco?
Yes, thank you again. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Gonzalez. Matt, that came up because there was initially some talk of placing the water pumping station between the two homes. The Torrance is on the left and the Keller's on the right. That's an access road listed on the plan, or a paper street listed on the plan. There's no intention of using that as a street, but the neighbors had concerns of having a pumping station placed between their homes. Through discussion with Will Pollitt, Will said I should probably check into whether that paper street has been given back to the city, or those rights to the paper street have reverted to each resident. I guess after a period of non-use, that street would technically revert to each resident on either side at the midway point of the street. And I don't know the legalities of it either, but I asked Attorney Barrett for an opinion to that, primarily so that these people don't wind up with a pump station next to their homes. If that explains it.
It certainly explains your concern. I still don't know if I understand what the response, I guess, means in English. I don't know. Was the response good news or bad news?
Well, I had the same issue, Matt, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but what I got from it was that in two other separate subdivision plans before the planning board, there was some work that was intended to be done there. It was never done. So the planning board, or you, currently have the right to take that street on behalf of the city, that paper street, if I'm reading it properly. And that's basically what I have, but it still is owned technically by Mr. Ennis.
That's right.
Sorry, Tom. A little talkative tonight, I guess. Can I just speak to Councilor Turco? It's a perfect place to put that pump station down at the bottom of the hill. Can you talk to the public services and see if there's some way that they can collaborate? Ultimately, this pump station is going to be conveyed to the city. They're going to own it, maintain it, pay for the electric, pay for the maintenance. Public water is going to go through it to all these homes and other homes that are going to benefit from this pressure, and find a place to put it, even if it's partially on Mr. DiBiase's property, partially on city property, so that this can go in the right spot. It's very simple.
Yes, you know, Roy, I was intending on talking to Jack and also Kurt Bellavance about the placement of the pump station. It was mentioned to me by several people that you guys could place that pump station wherever you want on the 14 acres of land that's owned by the Stonegate subdivision, if you chose to do that. So they don't necessarily have to use the city land. If they'd like to, I guess the council could consider it. But Mr. Attorney Kelty speaks as though we're automatically going to assume ownership of that pump station. And as you guys know, there was a pump station built 10 years ago at the corner of Gedney and Bartholomew that has still not been accepted by the city. And I don't believe the city has any intention of accepting in the near future. So I would kind of be in the same thought that with this pump station, I'm doubtful the city will accept this at any time in the near future, because of a lot of issues with the pipes on Bartholomew Street being able to handle the amount of water pressure. And I think that's the reluctance of the city to take the one up at Gedney and Bartholomew. So this is just an assumption by Attorney Kelty that we're going to take this pump station. It should be on city land. I'd be reluctant to think of it that way. I'd say if the city does decide to take it, even if it's on Mr. Ennis's land, that we can have an easement to no matter where it is. But I just wanted you to be aware there's no immediate intention of the city of taking that pump station.
Well, there should be, because the public water goes through that pump station and the city should maintain it in perpetuity. There's issues with the one down on Gedney, and you might not be getting the straight story on that, and that'll get resolved, I'm sure. It's the city's water going through a private station. There's an issue with that, and that's not right.
Right, I completely agree with you on that, and I felt the same way when they reached out to me about the one up on Gedney and Bartholomew, and I still don't. You'll be right. I don't know the full reason why the city hasn't done it. I've had the discussion a few times, but again, I just wanted to make the point that this may happen with the, this new pump station also. They have 14 acres of land to put it on. They could put it in between two new homes rather than two existing homes that have been there for 50 years. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Other matters properly before the board? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walden, Mr. Turco, Attorney Bonzanitis and his group, and Attorney Kelty. Thank you very much for your explanations and attendance here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.